Story 1, Chapter G. The Seven Magical Adventures of Chennai. The Quest for the Ancient Wisdom Map. The Brotherhood of Pao. Presented and narrated by Jim Jara, the storyteller representing the guiding force of fantasy and magic, residing in Fairy Tale Palace Planet. Chapter G. The Labyrinths of Cyclondor. While traveling through the underground tunnel to Ekokania, they had to pass the ancient city of Cyclondor, and Chennai is very interested to see how the Recyclons live and work. Niama shares with Chennai that Cyclondor was built long time ago by the Sectons. Unfortunately, Cyclondor, which was called in those days Mineral City, became a rich empire because they found several minerals that made them extremely rich. The tribe of the Sectons divided themselves in two tribes, who were at war for years and in the end destroyed many of the beautiful palaces and buildings. During the time the two tribes became richer, the lifestyles became of poor quality, and many diseases took over, and in the end, the entire tribe of Sectons died. The Dwarfins and Golots, who were the working force, kept themselves healthy and strong and survived, but left the underground world when the Recyclons started to take over. It was great. The Dwarfins and Golots survived, but this was also the time in the history when the Collecterians arrived and started to hunt down the Golots and Dwarfins and making them into their slaves. The ruins of the ancient empire, which became the home for the Recyclons, who slowly started to build their world of recycling waste and build their modern recycling plants and factories, and tried to preserve what was left of the old beautiful buildings of the past. Cyclondor grew and grew, and is connected underneath with smaller pre-recycling plants under any settlements on the Red Planet, through an endless maze of tunnels. The Recyclons are transporting the waste of the villages and cities down, and most of it is recycled and made to use for energy of new products. It was great from the Recyclons to preserve as much of the old destroyed castles and palaces of Cyclondor, and they became the cleaners of Earthos world and became the specialists in recycling and preserving. They are the balance because the Collecterians were just doing the opposite. As the Dwarfins and Golots became the keepers of the earth on the Red Planet and cultivated the lands, the Recyclons are also the keepers of the earth by cleaning and preserving it. The Recyclons were the first inhabitants of the Red Planet and have been around for ages. They survived through the worst times on the planet, and their hearts are in the right spot to clean and preserve. They continue traveling fast through Cyclondor, which is a labyrinth with endless pathways, 30 by 30 by 30 meters minimum, connecting to the bigger spaces deep down inside the planet. The bigger spaces hold enormous recycling factories built partially inside old ruins of castles and palaces. Many of the bigger spaces have enormous amounts of stalactites and stalagmites, and lit. They look like enormous cathedrals. The smoke coming from the factories is transported outside the planet through pipelines, which is the smoke one can see while approaching the planet. Morai, who is normally relaxed, has everybody moving faster, and explains that they cannot lose too much time in this normal time zone, but needed to end up as soon as possible in Ekokania, which is another minimum time zone. Moving fast through the labyrinth, they also move aside underground rivers, and here and there an underground lake surrounded by old-fashioned villages in which the Recyclons live. There are elevators everywhere going up to the surface. They visit an energy plant in which energy was made from garbage, a chemical recycling plant, and paper recycling factories. While taking a short break, Shania wrote down in her bracelet computer some thought when she gets back home what she can do helping the planet. Buy recycled paper. Reuse grocery bags and avoid plastic bags. Use biodegradable cleaning products. Use natural fertilizers. Participate in garbage recycling. Do not buy materials that are too difficult to recycle. Buy organic produce and stop sponsoring produce that has been contaminated with pesticides, artificial fertilizers, and God knows what more. Make a study of all the products you use to clean, rub, and spray on your hair, face, and body. It is not only the wrong materials filling your teeth that cause damage to your health. You pay a price to stay ignorant of these facts. As they keep moving towards Ecocania, Niama explains further that Cyclondor is constantly attacked with acts of terrorism for many years because the Collecterians do not want competition of recycled products. They want to sell the new and making the money, and not the recyclons. Shania expresses her strong opinion on this and even called the Collecterians terrorists. And Morai lets her reflect, by letting her understand that we are all terrorists in one way or another. He explained Shania that we attacked the body with unhealthy foods and terrorized the soul by letting the mind do whatever it wants to do, and that's why the balance is constantly disturbed. As they talk about the subject, they hear sounds of battle coming through the many tunnels. Shania sends Serena, who comes back with a video, pictures and information that the Collecterians are attacking the recyclons, trying to destroy their recycling factories. They look at the images, seeing Collecterians with their weapons, trying to hit as well recyclons, which is very difficult as they are small and very fast. The recyclons, however, have no means to really fight back other than cleaning up the mess caused by the rocks with which the Collecterians attacked. Only this is rather upsetting and discouraging for the Collecterians, as they do not see too long evidence of the destruction they are causing. Shania sends Serena back again, as they hear even more noise coming through the tunnels. Serena comes back with more videos and pictures. Seemingly dwarfins and gullots, living in smaller villages everywhere in the Red Planet, had to escape with their children into the labyrinth of underground tunnels, and had been making their way to the center of Cyclondor. Cyclondor, in their mind, had food supplies and was not invaded by the Collecterians because they were looking to capture children. The four friends decided to go back because the Gullots and Dwarfins would run into the attacking Collecterians, who didn't know about the invasion of the Collecterians. They were out to destroy the recycling plants. They rush back, and at the moment they arrive at the center of Cyclondor, they saw that the recyclons, the Gullots and Dwarfins, with their children, were really in a difficult situation, especially having no weapons to fight back. We need fast help, Shania was thinking, and at that moment an intense noise was coming from all the tunnels ending at the center. The Collecterians, who had been surprised seeing the Dwarfins and Gullots showing up, and vice versa, the Gullots and Dwarfins seeing the Collecterians, had put everybody in a moment of shock. And then the help arrived. Countless bats came from every tunnel and flew around, making it impossible for the Collecterians to continue their attack. And it was not just the noise of the bats that had come to the ears of everybody, but also the noise of countless snakes that had come from every tunnel. The bats kept flying around and the snakes attacked the Collecterians, winding themselves around both feet, and the Collecterians lost their balance and fell down. The snakes kept on coming and winding themselves like handcuffs around the hands of the Collecterians. Within no time, all the Collecterians were unable to continue their attack. Then the bats and snakes went around Chennai, made one round, and all disappeared back into the tunnels. "You seem to have made friends among snakes and bats, Chennai," said Morai. Everybody was happy, and the captured Collecterians were locked up in one of the storage hangars. They all had some talks, and Chennai came up with the idea and asked the Recyclons to go underground to Darkania to find a way to free the children. It seemed to be a good plan, as the entrance to the tunnels under Darkania are closed off for some time, and the Collecterians do not expect anybody coming from below. But all of this would take time, as the speed trains that traveled between Darkania and Cyclandor had not been of use for a long time. Plus, they had to open all these blocked entrances from underneath, but they all thought it could work. Chennai also did send a message with Serena for Urtos in Portugal, and he can send additional Securions, Gullets and Dwarfens to be part of the impossible rescue mission. Hopefully the snakes and the bats will help them, she was thinking. Morai said, "I am not sure if this is all going to work, but it is worth a shot. And we have to continue our path to Ecocania, to see from close up what the Collecterians are up to in Darkania." They talked more about other solutions to the situation in the Red Planet, and Morai assures everybody that soon things will change. Chennai is curious to what Morai meant by saying this, but he tells them that a more definite plan will come sooner than they think. They said their goodbyes, and after continuing traveling for some time through the underground labyrinth, they finally end up coming out from a cave entrance hidden with lots of green around at Ecocania, and entered another minimum time zone. Morai explains that they needed the minimum time zone, which works in their advantage, as time and the situation on the Red Planet almost stand still, and that he needed some time to let a plan develop itself. They all see that being in the minimum zone will work to their advantage. Ecocania is also a safe zone, as the Collecterians do not interfere here, due to the fact that they don't like minimum time zones, as all goes too slow for them, and because of the sons and daughters of the very rich that are living here. They leave the horses at a horse stable and walk further towards Ecocania. Dionex disguises everybody in order not to draw any attention, and of course he does a great job by a simple makeup job on Chennai, making her look much older. Ecocania. Ecocania, situated on a huge plateau, looked like a giant, over-dimensional willow tree, which was actually made up from many different sized willow trees, and the largest one in the middle being a watchtower, as they can see the wooden structure way up there. On this plateau it was all about green living, and not possible to fly in and out as there are no ports. Ecocania on this plateau is a community with many villages with these special willow trees and very high hedges separating the individual homes, villages and organic gardens, giving the feeling of a labyrinth. The homes, hotels and even the small manufactories were called living shelters and made from recycling materials coming from Cyclandor. It reminded Chennai about earthships, straw bale homes, dome homes, log cabins and other creative homes she had seen on her planet made by creative individuals living off the grid. But this was another dimension. Living in Ecocania was living under a semi-shade formed by the trees and functioning as a natural air conditioning created by the leaves, and every building had inside and outside gardens and produce was growing. The recyclons had very little to do here as everything got recycled now by the Ecocanians themselves, and there is no connection to their underground world needed. The only ways up to the plateau was climbing stairs carved out in the walls of the rock plateau. While walking up the long and very wide stairs, Genai sees the endless fields of modernized agriculture run by the Collecterians and observes Darkania in the far distance, with its endless cities of skyscrapers, located at the slopes of the Black Mountains. Darkania, with its endless cities with tall skyscrapers, looking like giants stretching themselves out over hundreds of miles, and sitting in a dark reddish-black mist of poison. She also noticed several cities that are ruins, completely destroyed. This happened through wars between the Collecterian tribes in the past, whispered Niama in her ear. Each city has its own spaceport, and she looks at the many space transportations coming out and flying into the shadow world. There are as well many Collecterian pirate ships hovering in the air, being there ready to attack any Securian warships that would show up coming out of the shadow world, she was thinking. Niama told Genai that Ecocania was founded by many dwarfens, Goliaths moving away from their tribe and villages, and young Collecterians of the very rich. They, like teenagers, rebelled against their parents and the system. So it is especially for this reason that they are safe here, as the relatives of these reformed Collecterians do not want to harm their own kind, although they do not approve of their lifestyle. In addition, some of the reformed Collecterians are related to a very elite group of Collecterians who receive the healthy produce from Ecocania. This elite group of Collecterians are the very rich money lenders to big businesses, owners, and Collecterians, and having government positions. They were called the Untouchables. Morai mentioned that he knows them as the Brotherhood of Pau, a secret group being the richest of all, and for that reason called the Untouchables. Although Ecocania is not under threat by the Collecterians, they will have to stay in disguise because the Collecterians are still looking for Morai and especially Genai. Dionyx did a very good job dressing Genai up in such a way that she looks much older than she is, so nobody takes her for a child, or better said, young teenager. Niama continued explaining that some time ago the Ecocanians, as they call themselves now, inherited this plateau and cleaned it and brought in the best soil they could find on the planet and started to found eco-villages and putting together their knowledge how to live healthier and to preserve the planet. But there also came a time where the balance became shaky. There are unfortunately amongst the Ecocanians many extremists, who are mostly the ascendants from these rich Collecterians, trying to create an utopia because the deep roots of control were still dominating in their being. Then there were internal problems of many kinds. The first thing to visit was to climb the tower in the center of the plateau in order for Genai to get a full picture of her environment. Ecocania was very busy with students and visitors from all over the universe, and they were at this point in time stranded because of the war, but tried to make the best out of their stay. While climbing the staircase winding up around the enormous willow tree, Niyama explains that the center village, which has many parks, is a real tourist attraction and learning center. The shops are about eco-friendly cleaning products, natural paint and wooden toys for kids, organic health food, and everywhere open-air sections where seminars were given on healthy living. She explains that she and Toro are regular visitors, offering seminars or being asked by the community council to assist in special matters. Chennai is not surprised anymore that her friends are assisting everywhere. Looking down through her special eyes, she sees interesting museums giving an education in a fun way, and Niyama explained about some of them, such as the Body Garden, the Body Manufactory, Komalomo, the Harmony Home Builder, and Clifa, the Harmony Business Manager. She is again not surprised to hear that Toro, Niyama, and Jinjara had been involved in these creations. Other attractions, such as the greenhouse tour, making your own organic garden, and the documentary of Destruction of the Planet, are very liked by the visitors. They take one of the many small inns as their quarters, with a view of Darkania, and Chennai goes on a tour through the village center with Niyama. She talks about many seminars she and Toro give here to the healthcare practitioners who are fighting with each other. Some local practitioners had tried to set up an integrative medicine clinic, bringing the different healthcare practitioners working with different methods together. Niyama explains to Chennai this is all still very hard with so many egos and individuals connected to diplomas. Everybody wants to have the control. She explains the other side of the problem, that individuals when sick want to feel secure by giving up again their power and deliver themselves completely into control and in the hands of the healthcare practitioners. Back at the inn again, Morai comments how individuals make healthcare practitioners and their methods into gods. He puts it right by saying that all of them are just assisting in the healing process. This is not enough, however, as the individuals are just busy with wanting guarantees. Morai stated, how can anyone expect a guarantee in a mortal world other than the security that one day he will lay off the mortal body? Sometime later, the tour continues through the villages of Ekokania, and Chennai gets a chance to visit the local beet and carrot crystal manufactories, and together with Niyama, she visits the Body Manufactory, explaining how to do proper business with and within the human manufactory. Morai would die next day behind at the inn. Morai needed to rest and think more about the entire situation. The tour keeps Chennai's mind off worrying about what is happening in the planet and especially the situation for children. Chennai and Niyama talk more about the medical and alternative medical world. Chennai had observed that there is a lot of modern medical help offered in the more active part of Sparakuta, and that other ways of assisting individuals is offered on the other side, where they had been lodging. Niyama said, it is not to judge any method, as all have a place in the world, and seemingly the fast lane life is more connected with hardcore methods and medicine, because individuals do not take the time to assist in the healing process. Further walking through Ikakania, they are suddenly confronted with a protesters' march of extremists seeking to become the leaders of the communities. Niyama senses trouble and decided to return fast to the inn. Back at the inn, they found Morai sitting in deep meditation, and when he came out, Chennai asked him to have a private talk with him to explain more to her regarding the Untouchables, also called the Brotherhood of Pow. Morai revealed that it is a secret group of collectarians, the wealthiest collectarians, with Lord Dagan as their leader. Genii is completely confused hearing that Lord Dagan is the twin being of Ertos. Morai explained that Crystallia, the creation and everything within, has two sides, also called the duality. In the case of Ertos, he happened to have a twin called Dagan, who represents the negative side. The false promise. With only few even knowing about them, through the centuries the members of this brotherhood were the ones who generation after generation have collected the most money by giving the inhabitants a false promise. So why do not many know about this group, Morai? Most individuals only see what happens on the surface and very few are willing to look deeper, why things are happening. This is in economy, business, family life, relationships and sickness, but as well why we do certain things. Why do we think a certain way? Why do we react in a certain way? There is a big history underneath everything. So let me continue. The Brotherhood of Pow, also known as the Protectors, is a group of very powerful families that basically have so much money and power that they control, through their network, the entire planet. They claim to be the protectors of the citizens and the world, but are only out to protect their own power and wealth. They are similar to a virus or cancer that spreads, or better said, invaders invading everyone's life. Like a fake Salvation Army, so to speak, and this has been happening for quite some time now, and without many of the citizens even noting this intrusion affecting the individual and the world at large. The Brotherhood, generation after generation, made and still makes the citizens believe that they are there to rescue and care about them, forgetting to tell them that they have forgotten to do this themselves as individuals, and thus making use of this, promising everybody a better, happy, and carefree life. They say, agree with us and vote for our chosen representatives, sponsored by us, without the citizens knowing this, and we will protect you. Make your dreams come true and everything will be better and different. We have a complete security package for you and make you feel secure by giving you legal documents so you have proof that you are part of our country and without realizing becoming a part of the stock. We take care of your money and offer you endless ways to invest and deposit it, because the only way they can keep the power and make more money is because of citizens investing in and by them. They say and promise, we offer you full protection through our justice system, police and army force. We offer you insurances for everything and anything, and we will take care of electricity, water and food supply, your health and education. When you have any doubt about our intention, here is the icing on the cake. We take care of your children from the moment they are born. We vaccinate them and we will check on them on a regular basis. Take care of their education so they will become well-behaved citizens, and we promise them a place in the circle of business life. We supply them with toys and other entertainments, keep them busy, less dependent on you so you can continue your own life, and without citizens knowing, training them to become one of their army soldiers, of which almost every citizen is already part of. Not to forget, we even take care of your spirit, because suffering is now finally over for all of you. Here, the contact with them is almost finalized as the citizens have sold, like soldiers themselves, and their children, and are even willing to die going at war for them for one or another reason that brings more power and wealth to them. They continue promising, "We will do all the thinking and even dreaming for you and keep you updated to what you need and need to do to stay secure and happy through our media circuits. We take care of your life, year, week and day planning and provide you with endless apparatuses and inventions that will make your life very easy. We give you the power to control them, and you just need to flip a switch, push a button to see instant change and results. Or you just touch keys on a keyboard and a complete new world reveals itself for you to play in and with. With our modern communication devices, we guarantee you a 24-hour friend, a friend you have been looking for and which you can control. When life is still too complicated and hard to deal with, just use the keys and stay safe in these new worlds. Plus, we offer you all kinds of other remedies that will push this inconvenience far underneath the surface. We will do anything possible to protect this new life for you, and anybody who could be a threat will have to deal with us and will be dealt with. So you, please live a happy and carefree life, and citizens fall for it all, supporting them by being consumer so they can continue providing and protecting in their vicious, distorted and manipulative ways. There are very few who are able to see through these false promises, and when they do, must first accept this brotherhood and their invasion and claim full responsibility, because they are still and will be at some degree participating in their realm of power and manipulation. These individuals have to stay awake of how and when they fall, or consciously step into the brotherhood's game, and they have to become more aware of how they do it. The more in fear citizens live, the less means they have to be independent from their system. The more in debt they stay. Then they can make money of citizens working harder and getting sicker and making money again with their cures. The more citizens give in their hands, the less they know, and the longer they stay ignorant, the better for them. They cannot control awake and aware, self-sufficient and healthy individuals, and have far more control over individuals when they are indebted to them. The lifestyle in their system keeps everybody so busy that they find no time seeking to escape from it. For those who have understood what is happening, it is, however, also not about going at war with them, pointing and complaining, but finding many ways to get away from being under this power, the dependency and addictions. There is no need to run away, but you have to do things differently and slowly empowering yourself again. This path many citizens will not take, for then you must learn to take care of yourself, relearn to do many things differently, and this takes courage, time, and active ways of investing one's energy. You will have to do some research within yourself, realizing that you yourself are the cause of all that happened and is happening. As an everlasting spirit, we all came on an adventure to the creation, to explore these foreign places and to experience many things. But in order to do so, we had to equip ourselves with a mind, which is the hard drive of the creation, and a body. While exploring and observing these worlds, we unfortunately started to identify with the mind, the body, and the creation, lost our connection with our real everlasting spiritual self, the source of everlasting energy and sound and light, and the sense organs and negative passions took over the adventure. Slowly but surely, we continued this separation process, from separating ourselves from the tribe in nature, living now in cages we call home, which we like to dress up in endless ways, forgetting that we are still in bondage, living in separate rooms and totally disconnected from each other and even from ourselves. The core cause, us, having separated ourselves from our spirit and source, is now living under the dictates of the mind, and that is the blueprint of our life, living under the dictates of the false protectors, because we allow the mind and sense organs to keep us busy, so busy that we do not seek to get out of bondage. The mind is like a movie theater with endless movies, and our thoughts are like a switch or remote control that we can change channels with. And we play with this remote day and night and wonder why we have no peace within ourselves. Compare the mind with an enormous endless shopping center with endless shops, each representing one thought, one feeling, and being trapped within it without even realizing. This switch or remote control is the blueprint of the switches, buttons and keyboards which the Brotherhood of Pao offers the citizens, and at the same time having them trapped in their shopping center, so to speak. With all this being busy like a bee in the external and internal shopping center, everybody still feels lost and lonely and tries to fill up with the impermanent things of this mortal world, ending up supporting them, joining the fake Salvation Army and living the false promise. When anybody wants to change things around, he or she will have to understand first how this world of body, mind and matter is built. One needs to know how these elements and building stones are part and parcel of everything, how they affect each other, and they have to rediscover how to tune into the laws of Kandu, the creator, universe and nature. This will help them to understand the mind, the world, and how the Brotherhood functions, but realize that this will not free us from the world of body and mind and matter. To escape and go beyond, to discover, or better said, rediscover who we really are and where we came from and how to get back again is another adventure. And to open the door to that world, we have to find or receive a special key. This key has been given and has been there since time began and always has been in the hands of special gatekeepers of light. And by having this key and through their guidance, we will have to get rid of us, ourselves, the one who has identified with the mind, body and world, and who lives under the dictates of the mind, and thus the mind itself. The freeing of oneself and accomplishing this as much as possible from being under the power of the Brotherhood and freeing oneself of the mind is an adventure, and to discover who we really are and to return is also an adventure. The great experience of life is about the adventure and not about any end, because we are, in essence, an eternal soul without a beginning and no end. We just are. These are the greater mysteries that we can unfold, and while going this adventure, which attaches us to something higher, away and above this world of mind and matter, and through which we automatically lose the attraction and attachments to this impermanent world. We will feel empowered with and through something that goes far beyond our intellect and imagination, and consequently getting away from being under the power of the mind and the Brotherhood of Pao and their false promise. Coming back to the Brotherhood understand that they kept all the power for themselves, as individuals are not supposed to be successful because their money cannot be controlled. Only debts are able to be controlled. They invented the credit cards. They owned the insurances and the pharmaceuticals and the banks. They made sure that everybody stayed in debt so they would keep on making money and keeping the power. This group of individuals thinks highly about themselves, as they think that the inhabitants are better off than being under the command of dictators, and they created the blueprint, which is now a blueprint used in most places in the universe. The Collectarians that were business-minded but not part of this brotherhood use the same principle and have only one thing in mind for themselves as well: to become rich. And with the money they loaned from the brotherhood, they created each new situation, even for their own kind. They were able to create endless desires, then loaned money to fulfill those desires, and kept everybody in debt to them. Many of the elite brotherhood grown-up children are now part of each of the different city councils, keeping an eye that all kept going in the right direction. Their parents were the real money loaners of all the major industries, and who as well financed the politicians they wanted. However, it was the Collectarians that loaned from the Brotherhood that made things worse, as they created the cheap foods so to get everybody sick, and then made money on them through medication, surgery, and their artificial happy life. Chennai said, basically, it is the Brotherhood where all the money comes from. They are the real bad guys. Morai nodded and said, you are right, but they do not see it in that way. The only thing they know is that when the money and power doesn't stay with them, it will end up in the hand of someone else. But this is evil. You are right, but we as individuals do exactly the same. What do you mean with this? You see, Kandu gave us life and this opportunity to adventure Crystallia the creation, which is in the hands of the governor Kalimobanko, but it is up to us as individuals what we do with the mind and all the possibilities in this adventure. You mean to say that Kalimobanko is not the bad guy again? In general, everybody is familiar with Kalimobango and Kandu, but do not have this perspective on Kalimobanko, who has received names such as Satan and the devil. We let the mind, which is Kalimobanko, run our life and see what we do to ourselves, others, and the world. Kalimobanko is like the Brotherhood, and we as individuals are the Collectarians. I was thinking that all the members of the Brotherhood need to die, and as well all the other Collectarians. This is not the solution, because we ourselves are like the Brotherhood and the Collectarians. The only way is to rise above the weakness of the mind, and this is a struggle for a lifetime. I would want to take this battle up with my mind, Morai. You are already on that path, Chennai, a path that was inspired by your father. Yes, was Chennai thinking, Papa knew that the only change would come when individuals would change. It is for that reason that we need to understand this mind and how the creation operates, and that is exactly the quest you are on now, finding the sacred archives and all its treasures. We need to become the master of the mind, and when we have achieved this, the mind and Kalimobanko have no grip on us anymore. Everything will come to you, Chennai. Just be patient. Chennai closed her eyes and kept listening, and heard how the Collectarians control individuals from a young age by getting them conditioned to certain foods, so the money people have them under their control. How individuals slowly get sicker, so they will need medication and are controlled again. It all sounds so familiar, and sees that this is done through the media to control them on everything they think they need to have, and will do everything possible to have these false promises. She heard Marai saying that everybody's enslaved by many things, and that it takes the hero from within to stand up and fight against this. Genai opened her eyes again and was more an active part of the talk, in which Marai kept on explaining. Through the Collecterians, the demand of goods was created, goods that everybody wanted in order to feel happy, and in the past the Golots and Dwarfins, who were the simple working folk, had been hunted down to become the slaves in the factories located in the Metalikondas. We know from the history of this planet that the Golots and Dwarfins have been cursed by their skills, experience and strengths, and have been forced to work for the Collecterians. At one point in time, as we know, this changed, and the Golots and Dwarfins freed themselves. It was at a time when the Collecterians had separated themselves from each other and were fighting violent and intense wars between their cities. The Dwarfins and Golots had in secret collected enough money and hired the Securions as their protectors. They all escaped from the Metalikondas in the different cities of Darkania. The Dwarfins and Golots, who had made themselves free before this time and living in Tribond, came to help as well. Many Dwarfins and Golots were invited by Urtos to settle down in Sparakuta, or to develop Sparakuta, which you know by now, and any other huge amount of Golots and Dwarfins were allowed to build Miniok City. The remaining ones settled down around Portigo or created their small villages in the entire planet, but kept themselves protected with Securions. Nobody had expected this, and the Brotherhood took advantage of this situation and hired foreign workers coming from another planet. But the Collecterian big business owners called the new rich, especially those in the Metalikondas, had to pay for this new working force. The Collecterians were too busy with their wars, which, by the way, was sponsored by the Brotherhood, and they all let this happen. It was amazing for Genai to hear as well about the deals the Brotherhood made with these foreign planets which were rich in minerals and loaned money to governments so they would put their own people to work to get these minerals out of the earth, but also offering work for their people to come and work in Darkania. Niama added, whispering in her ears, and all of this is as well happening on the planet Earth. The Brotherhood in their contracts became the majority owners of the minerals, which they exported, some coming to the Red Planet and to other planets. Plus they made money on the foreign workers, which the new rich Collecterians had to pay for. It made Genai upset to hear how countries sell themselves with their riches found in the earth, selling the country and countrymen, enslaving them. At that moment she heard Marai made a comment that we all sell ourselves for money and desires, being the slaves of the sense organs, and through all these attachments basically selling the soul to Kalimubanku, the mind. Marai took a deep breath and continued speaking. We are all aware of the situation on the Red Planet, and that children are being hunted down and captured by Collecterians. I have been thinking deep about the situation on why the Collecterians are trying to capture children. These new foreign workers that came from different planets have slowly been sending the money they earned to their planet and created more stability in their home planet, and they all have been leaving one by one. But the Brotherhood, however, had already made deals with other planets for new workers. I can only come to the conclusion that the new rich Collecterians have their own plan to not take them, as they have to pay for them. But by capturing children, they don't need to pay the Brotherhood for this new working force. The new rich Collecterians have also in secret manufactured weapons, which they as usually have to buy from the Brotherhood, who have various planets producing this for them. Basically, the new rich Collecterians have taken things in their own hands, and there is much more behind the fact that they only capture children. I know children are easily trained and later in life they don't know better, but I have a suspicion that the Collecterians also have in mind to use children for medical experiments and other inhumane things. The new plan. Genii said, I have an idea. Let's go into Darkania. Nobody expects us there, and let's speak with the Brotherhood of Pau. And hopefully we can convince them that they need to stop the new rich Collecterians from capturing children, because they will lose making money of the workers they had planned to provide. That is exactly what I was thinking, responded Morai. There is, however, one problem. It is very hard to find anybody of this group, as they are a secret society. Genii jumped in saying, they need to see that they need us. We can let Dionyx dress us up as very interesting foreigners and spreading the word that we come from a planet where we are so advanced that we can produce organs and other parts of the body. I heard about this some months ago on my planet, where they are very far with experimenting with the DNA and producing organs and parts made for individuals. I have seen how bad the health of the Collecterians is. Maybe the members of the Brotherhood are as well in bad shape. And when not, they want for sure the business in their hands of producing new organs and body parts. We are going to Darkania, trying to make deals with the new rich Collecterians. When these members of the Brotherhood are smart, they will want to talk with us before we finish the deals with the new rich Collecterians. Everybody thinks that this is the only solution for the moment. Genii thinks in one way that it is a good plan, but she also wants to get rid of the Brotherhood of Pau, which in her eyes are evil. Morai explains to Genii that for the moment there is no other solution, as the Collecterians still need leadership, which they only accept being individuals of their own kind. They have more talk regarding Kalimubanko being the governor of Crystallia, and how he fits in the picture. It is getting more and more clear to Genii that Kalimubanko is our own mind and ego and all realities within the mind, and that we either become the slaves of the mind, which is Kalimubanko, or we learn to rise above it by tuning into the highest virtues, through meditating, reconnecting with Kandu, and living life as crystal children of light, from the consciousness of the soul. To do this is to follow the quest of her father, and to gather all the information about how this world of body, mind, and matter is built, and how it is governed, and for that she needs to learn from the Sacred Council. Genii feels that she is on the right path, but the journey may be longer than she expected. The decision is made to go into Darkania, where the least amount of Collecterians are, as most of them are on the warpath, and Dionyx stating that the Collecterians never expect Genii going to their city. Shania asked if she could document all she heard regarding the false promise, as she has in mind to publish this information as soon as she is back on her planet. Morai said yes, but tells her not to have any expectation, saying, even when individuals know this, they still fall for the promise because almost nobody wants to take responsibility, because that would mean staying conscious and putting in effort. Most individuals rather stay mainstream, which gives them the possibility to complain, because complaining stops when you take responsibility. So it ends up mostly with staying in the business of complaining and blaming. Just use the information to change things for yourself, Shania. She thanked Morai for the detailed information and needed time to once more see it in front of her eyes, and has in mind to write it out anyway. Shania walked up to one of the windows again and viewed the Darkania, surrounded by a river filled with toxic waste, as she could see the poisonous fumes rising and which functioned as the protection. Strange-looking clouds were moving over the agricultural lands around the city and going inside and coming out of the cities. Each city, with its endless skyscrapers, had its own color or color combination, but an artificial color. Between the river and the cities, Shania looked at the Metacondas, the suburbs of the manufactories with the high chimneys. They talk about the fact that there is heavy control of passports to enter any city, while Shania keeps looking outside and sees the heavy defense situation being the Collecterian pirate ships hovering in the air, waiting to attack any unwanted visitors coming from the shadow world. On the lands, they see robot machines and robots doing the work, and strange-looking robot birds spraying pesticides. Many strange-looking farms with lands packed with cattle and barns with chickens sitting in cages. Cattle is guided by cattle machines towards the cities, and produce on trailers is moving inside the Metallicondas. Looking towards the Black Mountains, she looks at the homes and palaces of the rich city collectarians and the collectarian owners of the gem mines in the past. Through the gem mines, the path of power and money started for the collectarians in the past, she was thinking. There was very little natural forest in the mountains left, and they can see many areas where mudslides take place when it rains. They continue to make plans, and after some time Shania sees clouds, charged with negative electric energy, drifting towards Ikukhania. The alarm goes off in Ikukhania and screens roll automatically down around the homes. This reminded Shania about her home and the situation on her planet. Shania, with her special eyes, sees another strange phenomena rolling through the sky and over the lands, which are the spirits of nature in their special bodies, assisting to clean in their special ways. Many looking like see-through colorful mandalas, others as rolling fireworks, fountains, and enormous water crystals. After some minutes, the air is clean and they disappeared, and the screens went up again and the alarm stops. They continue talking about their plan and to go on horseback into Darkania. There is further not too much to plan, as everything is unpredictable at this moment, with the only main focus to get into Darkania and finding a way to get into the circle of the Brotherhood of Pao. Shania draws a magical door and speaks inside her mind the password, after which Shimjara shows up to update them. Jimjara had been very busy entertaining the children in Portigo, Miniok City, Sparakuta, Cyclondor, and in the homes of the Tribonese, all hiding from the attacks. Jimjara explained that he has talked with Ertos, who has been in meetings with Golots, Dwarfins, and the main Securians, trying to make plans to change things around. They have to deal with the saboteurs at the port and having trouble to find Collecterians hiding in Miniok City, not knowing what they are up to. Portigo is still safe as the water walls are keeping the armies of the Collecterians out, and the international port for flying in and out into the universe and Shadow World is closed off, so no Collecterian warships can come inside. They get a clear picture what is going on everywhere, and they are happy to hear that Toro is fine, although they are still under heavy attack in Sparakuta. Jimjara leaves with the information of the plan and to share this with Ertos and Toro when he would see them again. Doing his very best, Direnex changed all of them into individuals coming from a distant planet. But this time it is not just about clothing, but faces, hands, voices, and visas. They leave Ecocania and travel on their horses over the artificial cultivated agricultural lands of the Collecterians.